Three cavities of cochlea: scala vestibular, scala media, cochlear reduct, or scala tympani. Third one. Three membranes of cochlea: basilar membrane, vestibular or Reisner's membrane, tectorial membrane. Basilar membrane present between scala media and scala tympani. Vestibular Reisner's membrane present at base of scala vestibulae between scala vestibulae and scala media. Tectorial membrane is present at scala media. It rests on hair or stereocilia of hair cells. Cochlear nerve. It has 90% axons contributing from inner hair cells for hearing purpose. It has 10% axons contributing for outer hair cells. Organ of Corti. It's the end organ of hearing. It has hair cells with stereocilia. These stereocilia of hair cells are in contact with tectorial membrane. As the stereocilia move due to movement in perilymph, this causes a shearing motion between stereocilia and tectorial membrane. This converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy, and impulses travel toward the CNS through cochlear nerve. Neurons of cochlear nerve are in spiral ganglion. Nose. Ethmoid bone. It is pneumatic bone of nose with multiple air sinuses. Parts of ethmoid bone: superior nasal terminate, middle nasal terminate, perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone, cribriform plate of ethmoid bone, crista galli. Superior nasal terminate, middle nasal terminate. They are present in lateral wall of nasal cavity. Perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone. It forms the medial wall of nasal cavity. It helps in forming nasal septum from the roof. Cribriform plate of ethmoid bone. It forms the roof of nasal cavity. Crista galli. It is a midline elevation at the floor of anterior cranial fossa. It provides attachment to falx cerebri. The nasal cerebrum is formed by the perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone in upper part and vomer bone in lower part. Cribriform plate of ethmoid bone has multiple foramina for passage of axons of olfactory nerve. Olfactory mucosa is present on superior concha and roof of nasal cavity. In case of fracture of anterior cranial cavity, there is leakage of CSF through nose. This is called CSF rhinorrhea. Olfactory mucosa is present on superior concha and roof of nasal cavity. In case of fracture of anterior cranial cavity, there is leakage of CSF through nose. This is called CSF rhinorrhea. Coronal section of skull. Cranial cavity, ethmoidal air cells, orbit, frontal bone, ethmoid bone, superior middle, inferior nasal concave, vomer bone, mandible, oral cavity, maxillary sinus, nasal cavity. Important information. Inferior nasal concha or turbinate is not a part of ethmoid bone. It is separate bone altogether. It articulates with maxilla bone. Maxilla forms the floor of nasal cavity and roof of oral cavity. This is called palate. Inferior nasal concha or turbinate is not part of ethmoid bone. It is a separate bone altogether. It articulates with a maxillary bone. Maxilla forms the floor of nasal cavity and roof of oral cavity. This is called palate. Boundaries of orbit. Medial wall formed by ethmoid bone, roof formed by frontal bone, lateral wall formed by zygomatic bone, floor formed by maxilla bone. Medial wall by ethmoid bone, roof by frontal bone, lateral wall by zygomatic bone, floor by maxilla bone. Lateral view or frontal view of nose. Olfactory mucosa. It is at the level of superior turbinate and roof of nasal cavity. Level of superior turbinate and roof of nasal cavity. It gives some axons called the olfactory nerve. Olfactory nerve pierces the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone and immediately synapses with olfactory bulb in the brain at the floor of anterior cranial fossa. Olfactory nerve pierces the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone and immediately synapses with olfactory bulb in brain. Olfactory nerve pierces the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone and immediately synapses with olfactory bulb in the brain at the floor of anterior cranial fossa. Under each turbinate there is a space called meatus. Therefore, there are three meatuses: superior meatus, middle meatus, inferior meatus. Olfactory nerve is the shortest cranial nerve. Vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve. Largest turbinate, inferior turbinate. Largest meatus, middle meatus. Olfactory nerve is the shortest cranial nerve. Vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve. Largest turbinate, inferior turbinate. Largest meatus, middle meatus. Nasal septum is formed by perpendicular plate of ethmoid bone, vomer bone, septal cartilage. Crest of nasal septum. Crest of nasal bones, sphenoid crest, crest of palatine bone, crest of maxilla bone. Lateral wall of nasal cavity. Lateral wall of nasal cavity